Here's Johnny.
Take your stinking paws off me.
Be cool. Be cool.
You fools! You're in danger! He's alive! He's alive! Wait, 21 gigawatts! Hallelujah! Holy shit! You gonna read this?
Jack Burt, me.
We're pretty good to run, girly boy. Stop it!
What's up, movie lovers, and welcome back to the Lucid Nightmare. I'm your host as always, Jay Schatzer. And today, at the collection update, I'm going to be going over some more random horror films. And these ones are going to be really random. A lot of unknown flicks, and some I've actually not even seen before. So it's going to be a little bit of a surprise here. Let's jump right in and check them out. Alright, first up is one that I've actually seen late last year. It was very interesting, never heard of it before in my life, but after watching the trailer and just seeing the poster, I was intrigued, to say the least. It is Doom Watch. Sounds like a comic book gang or something, superhero gang. But Doom Watch is actually an eco-horror thriller, I guess you would say. It surrounds a remote island where a lot of weird stuff is happening to the villagers there. It's a seaside town, and everyone's getting sick and just weird stuff starting to happen to them. And a guy comes into town and kind of investigates and just starts seeing some weird shit. But yeah, it's definitely cool. It was completely off my radar. I just kind of stumbled upon it when I saw Kino Lorber was putting out a sale, and I saw it in the list, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this one a go. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. Really enjoyed it for the most part. It's definitely a has a strange flavor to it for sure. But you kind of see some of the characters in the back there. Yeah, it's a different one, but one that's actually enjoyable. So if you ever get the chance to check it out, definitely give it a look, because it's original. It's kind of out of left field. You don't really know what's going to happen until it happens in it. So very unpredictable and entertaining watch. But let's move on to another strange stunner that's under the radar for most people, as it was for me until I watched it. It is The Black Sleep. The Black Sleep. Really cool film. It's actually surprisingly demented for its the era that it came out. It's got a very interesting cast with Lon Chaney Jr., Bela Lugosi, and Basil Rathbone, and even John Carradine, that son of a bitch, shows up. He's in everything around this era. But yeah, it's pretty much, from what I remember about it, it was just a bunch of people in a old mansion, and crazy weirdos are running around all over the place. It's almost like a Psycho ward, but really interesting flick. And yeah, it's just really strange. I love the poster art. It's just like, it's a pretty good description of what to expect in the film. A lot of weirdos roaming around and just strange stuff happens. So it's a really good visual representation of what to expect in The Black Sleep. But yeah, like I said, great cast of characters, interesting story, beautiful black and white photography. So yeah, definitely check this one out if you're looking for an odd viewing, for sure. Weird stuff. But up next is another, and this is also Kino Lorber released. These next few are going to be Kino Lorber, and they put out some great stuff. But this one is one I've been meaning to watch for a very long time. Has a lot of great actors and actresses in it. Has that kind of Hammer feel. It's really focuses on the occult. It's really interesting. But it is The Crimson Cult. And it is very strange. Follows, I want to say it's a, was it a guy? Yes, this guy goes to a remote area looking for his brother, I believe it is, who disappeared. And there's this weird people that own the mansion, and for some reason he has suspicions that they might be behind his disappearance. And there's pretty much just a weird cult of people that are just performing rituals, and the brother was maybe a part of that ritual, so it's a mystery that slowly unravels. It's got a little bit of H.P. Lovecraft feel to it, because it's based on one of his novels, The Dream in the Witch House. But yeah, great cast. Like I said, it's got Christopher Lee, like he in the other, that was the last video I did with him in City of the Dead, and Boris Karloff, with also a nifty little appearance by Barbara Steele, who plays kind of a, I don't even know how to describe it, but that's her right there to give you an idea. But yeah, it's a really gothic feel to it. Really has that Hammer quality, and it's a British film, so it has that British charm to it. It's just a really great atmospheric experience to just check it out for yourself. Really cool film. Really glad I picked it up because I've been meaning to watch it forever, and watched it late last year, and really dug the visuals and the story in general. But let's move on to an interesting flick that is pretty much a sci-fi film, but I categorize it into the horror just because it's completely grotesque. The special effects are actually really good in this film for it being a kind of B-grade movie with a silly title. But yeah, this movie gets pretty grotesque. But I watched this one probably around late last year with my friends on one of our Monday movie nights, and everyone just loved it. It was just ridiculous. Totally nuts, really strange visuals, but the movie I'm talking about is The Incredible Melting Man. Blah. But yeah, it's a corny title, and I mean a silly premise, but it's really executed, straightforward. They're not really messing around. There's no really tongue-in-cheek humor at all in it. It's pretty much a guy who gets messed up in space or whatever, gets radiation, and he's pretty much just melting throughout the whole movie and running around like a psychotic monster killing people. That's pretty much the gist of the film, but the creature effects of him slowly melting, I don't know if you can kind of see that on there, are pretty badass, really well done. They don't really pull any punches. It's just really straightforward, and you just see him just grotesquely falling apart. Really cool, violent as hell, and just fun in general. Really great stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. And also, I mean, it's also good to note that Rick Baker, the special effects wizard, was behind the design for The Incredible Melting Man, so it's got that caliber behind it. Just really cool stuff. Really great stuff. Definitely check it out. Like I said, it's a borderline sci-fi horror, but I just put it in the horror because of the general grotesque nature of it. But yeah, really enjoyable stuff. Great addition to the collection, because I've always been wanting to see it, but then when I picked it up, finally got to see it, and do not regret that purchase at all. But up next is another Kino Lorber release. It is my Gothic Tale. I just go right into it. It's called The Maze. But this one is this one, out of all of the ones that I mentioned before, had that H.P. Lovecraft, the Crimson Cult, I believe it was. This one has a really strong H.P. Lovecraft feel to it. It's really strange. It's about a guy who he's estranged from his family, but then his uncle dies and leaves him his mansion, so he has to go and tend to the mansion. But what he finds out is that he's tasked with keeping a creature from getting out that lives in the grounds. That's a relative, but it's like, it's very weird. It's got that H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu kind of mythology behind it. It's shot in black and white. It has very vivid atmosphere to it, and there's also a hedge maze in the mansion. So it's got all the elements for a really cool horror film. But yeah, The Maze, really outstanding. This is another one of those films that I'd never heard of in my life, but then saw the trailer and read up on the story, and I was like, man, this could be a pretty badass flick. So I checked it out, and I was correct. But yeah, not a lot of known actors and actresses in it, but yeah, it's a hell of a good time. Really good watch. So check this one out on a dark and stormy night, and you will not be disappointed. But the ending kind of made me crack up because it really goes off the rails out of nowhere. You're just like, holy shit, what am I watching? But it's all tactively done up until that point. Even then, it's just demented at that by that point. Your mind is boggled, and you're like, what the hell was that? But yeah, definitely a film to look out for if you're looking for that kind of crazy entertainment that kind of pulls the rug out from under you when you least expect it. But let's move on to a film that is a must-watch film in October. It is the instant and modern classic Trick or Treat. No or in this one. Yeah, Trick or Treat is an anthology film where all the individual stories kind of wrap up in each other and blend together. Really, really potent atmosphere that perfectly captures Halloween and the season of Halloween. Of course, it's got trick-or-treating, but it has all these different stories that meld together all on Halloween night. Great cast. Great setup, great flow. The way the segments blend together and interact is really genius. This is just a great film. The director is Michael Dougherty. Shit, I think he's actually directing... Is he the one directing the new Godzilla movie? I can't remember. I know there was some director from a smaller director doing a big film now. I think it's him, but... Yeah, this one is fan-freaking-tastic. Just definitely, if you've not seen this, then make it a goal this Halloween season in October to just put it in and sit back and just enjoy. This is almost like a gateway drug to people that do not like horror movies. I know I've shown this to a few people during that time, and they absolutely loved it. People that don't usually watch these kind of flicks. So, yeah, definitely watch it. Creepy as hell in certain parts. Some stories are actually funny. Some get under your skin, but they all have great visuals, and they just capture that spirit of Halloween to perfection. Boom. Great flick. One of the best modern films that came out in a long time. But let's move on to a gothic little number. I believe it is an Italian gothic horror film starring the vivacious Barbara Steele. It is The Long Hair of Death. And this one is just a fabulous depiction of gothic black and white film. Really great. Barbara Steele as the main protagonist in the film. And she also does a dual role in this one, so she also plays... She's the antagonist and the protagonist in this film, which is really interesting because she does a fantastic job in both, even though there are conflicting personalities. She plays that sweet and innocent to perfection, and kind of the demented, almost sadist, masochistic kind of type personality. So it's a really good combination and a great example of her range as an actress. But like I said, totally gothic. This is really great to watch, like in the season of Halloween, just watching it and getting absorbed in the visuals. I cannot remember for the life of me if I did a review on this one. Kind of the Barbara Steele reviews kind of get mixed up in my head of what I've done and what I haven't done. I think I've done it though, because I remember certain moments editing. So that's how I kind of remember it. Do I remember editing this stuff together? So yeah, I think Long Hair of Death is actually on the channel. If not, let me know and I will remedy that, because I need to get that one up here for sure, because it's really great. And directed by Antonio Margheriti, who's got a slew of great films in his repertoire. But let's move on to an interesting mix of horror, kind of adventure with kind of bizarre comedy elements in it. This is just a full package movie. It is Nightbreed. And this is a great Clive Barker film. Clive Barker of Hellraiser fame. And yeah, it's hard to describe. Is probably just the best way to put it is there's this guy who keeps having dreams of a weird place called Midian where monsters live, and he's drawn to this place, and he somehow manages to find it and becomes a citizen in it, but then Midian is besieged by outside sources, and it's pretty much just a smorgasbord of crazy special effects and memorable moments, great creature design, just a great story in general with a lot of mythology and legend. A lot of Clive Barker's kind of staples are in this too. But yeah, it's if you haven't seen it before, definitely check it out. It's one of those kind of required viewings, just in cult cinema. It's just really interesting. It's got a lot of flavors to it. Yeah. Really, 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 really nuts. But and the funny part is that director David Cronenberg, he actually has a good, big role in this film of just some creepy weirdo psychologist dude. But he does an amazing job in the film. Just everyone does a great job. And here's some of the, you can kind of get an idea of the creature effects in it if you haven't seen it before. But yeah, it's like a really, really surreal nightmare come to life. And there's nothing quite like Nightbreed, and this is the director's cut. I believe that's also referred to as the Cabal cut. And I mean, for the life of me, I've watched Nightbreed so many times, but I cannot tell the difference between the Cabal cut and the original theatrical cut. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's I might have seen the Cabal. I don't know, but I was looking for stuff that was new, and I just couldn't remember anything. But I've seen it so many times. I don't know how it slipped by me, but who the hell knows? Maybe I'm losing my damn mind. But let's move on to another film so we can get this video, keep it on the rails. It is a modern day classic. Believe this came out in, I have no freaking clue, 2016, no, 2014 I think. It is It Follows. And this is the sweet steelbook of the film on Blu-ray. How do you describe this film? It's like a slasher film where there's no slasher to be seen, but you feel it constantly throughout the picture. There's always this impending doom coming down on the characters, and the whole twist of the film is that it's a spin on sexually transmitted diseases and kind of making that into a horror film. And that's pretty much the main premise of the film, is that you're kind of cursed, and if you have sex with somebody, then that curse goes to them, and then this entity follows them around and tries to kill them. It's really, really interesting, an original premise that is not seen in any films, but it has the feel and tone of a slasher genre. You know, it's a really clever film, to say the least. So if you've not seen It Follows, if you heard the hype and you're kind of like, you know, I don't like modern horror films. Like me, I can't stand certain modern horror films, but this one is definitely one to check out. Just a really cool premise and exceptionally executed. But let's move on to a different type of film. It is The Howling. This is a great, great werewolf movie starring Dee Wallace. It's got a lot of different elements to it that make it memorable. And also Joe Dante directed this one. You might know him from Gremlins. Well, this one's a little bit different from Gremlins, but it's a really interesting take on the werewolf film. It's actually one I'm gonna have to watch again because it's been a while since I've seen it, and I remember certain scenes, but I don't remember the whole film in general, like the details of it. But yeah, some really cool transformation scenes, and just some great characters in it. So definitely check that one out. This is the Scream Factory release on Blu-ray that I picked up. And I actually picked it up for pretty cheap, so I'm happy about that. let's move on to another werewolf movie. Let's just keep the werewolf train moving. It is John Landis's comedy horror flick, An American Werewolf in London. The classic. And if for some reason you have not seen this film, stop what you're doing, get it, and watch it. I believe I did a review for this one a long time ago, so it should be up on the channel. But it's just the film really blends the horror and comedy elements very well, where you almost don't even notice it. It just becomes the tone of the film. Great cast. It's got who's the main guy in this one? I always forget this guy's name because he's not really in a lot of stuff. David Naughton is the he's the main guy. I think his name's David in the film too, right? Yeah. He does a great job on it. He really can balance the horror and comedy and just kind of makes it his own. You really kind of get swept up in everything that happens to him and you follow him throughout the whole film. Really sympathetic. And then Jenny Agutter is the nurse that crosses paths with him and kind of gets mixed up in this whole thing too. But yeah, it's a great film. Great, amazing moments, and like The Howling, there's some... This is probably the definitive werewolf transformation effects that cinema's ever seen. It's just really crazy, really detailed, and you really get the pain of transformation when he turns into a werewolf. Yeah, a lot of batshit crazy moments too, because his friend dies from a werewolf, but he's haunted by his friend, so he's got this decomposed zombie-like guy that only he can see talking to him. It's really has a lot of things going for it, and a lot of elements that you wouldn't expect in a werewolf film. So it really thought outside of the box with this one and made something just truly original and totally classic. So American Werewolf in London is just fabulous. So let's move on to two more films. They're both classics in their own right, but for different reasons totally, because even though they are original movie and a sequel of the original movie, they are tonally different. The movie I am talking about, well, the first movie I'm talking about is Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I have bought so many damn versions of this film, but this is the Blu-ray version. Yep, a classic. Everyone knows the name. Most people have seen the film. It's just a totally demented, very painful sometimes to watch because it just gets really gruesome and over the top. But this version has the 4K digital restoration of it, so I needed to pick that one up because I want my classic horror looking totally great. But yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about this film that everyone's already said. But yeah, just a classic, and like I was saying, the follow-up part 2, totally different feel. This one almost borders on a horror comedy, because it's mainly because of the characters. The characters are supercharged, overblown, really just milking it for all it's worth. Bill Moseley just does a crazy job in this film. And, oh yeah, Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper is just batshit crazy, like he is in most of his films. You know, he's always going to give you something crazy to watch when he appears in any of his films. You just got to keep an eye on that guy. But yeah, it just pretty much follows the history of this family, this demented, crazy family with Leatherface running around with his chainsaw and Chop Top acting like a psycho. So it's just it's a great continuation that, oddly enough, doesn't follow the tone or atmosphere or kind of grounded nature of the first film, and just kind of goes all cartoony and crazy, but in an enjoyable way, and it just makes for a really crazy experience. For me personally, I like the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre better, but this one is just really great, and I have a lot of fond memories just from watching it with my friends. And just laughing our asses off at the film because it's just so crazy and out there. But guys, that is it for this video. I hope you saw some ones that were interesting. That was a really random set of films. that really spanned a whole bunch of different subgenres within the horror catalog. So yeah, I hope there was some that you've never heard of before that you'd like to check out, and maybe it was just nice to remind you of some classics that you haven't seen in a while. But that's it for me, and I will see you guys the next time on the Lucid Nightmare channel. So thanks for watching, take care, and stay out of trouble. Later, guys.